people that are not here. So we are going to chat about the homework from yesterday. I don't want to chat a lot about it because I took a lot of your time up yesterday with that assessment or assignment, plus having you watch the live and do the work from the live. I understand that that was a lot of work. So I just want to talk about the prompt from yesterday that they assigned. I also want to see if you did the task before the homework, because I think it will be really helpful. And I kind of want to work through that with you over Zoom over our Google Meet right now. And then I can send it out to the group so we can kind of combine our heads for this. So let me pull up on my phone so I can see your comments, but feel free to jump on the chat. I want to first talk about the chart. So this was before they assigned the homework. They mentioned this chart, and I thought it was really helpful in terms of building this like arsenal of data from all of the books that we've read ahead of the test. And I have that meeting tonight at 7 p.m. with the AP people, so I'll know what type of question it's going to be as of tomorrow. And they're going to share a newsletter. So I'll probably have you interact with that for you too now, like reading the updates. But based on the amount of work that they're having you guys do in this review class, I'm assuming there's going to be an open-ended. I don't know. It's only 45 minutes. I'm just not sure. So let me share my screen. Share my screen. Share my entire screen with the class. Yeah. Good times. Okay. Did you or did you not complete this as part of the assignment yesterday? It wasn't like the homework, but it was in there. Just write in the comments yes or no. I'm not mad if you didn't because it wasn't the homework. Sound off in the comments below. Oh God. Sorry, the feedback from my phone. Okay, Nelsie said no. That's fine. Everyone, except for one. What do you mean except for one? Okay, I think it will be good if we do this together quickly as a class. Interact with the narrative perspective. Didn't do fences. Okay. So shall we do it? Do you want to do it as a class right now, or do you want to work on this like independently? That's the question I have for you. Because as a class. Okay, let's do it as a class. I want to do this as quickly as possible. I want to look at the prompt from yesterday. They're really going to talk today about how to write a thesis statement, which I'm interested to see what they have to say. So it's imperative that you've done that, but we're going to look at the prompt today. If anyone wants to share their thesis statements right before we leave as a class, you can, and we can all give you feedback. But today they're going to help you kind of, I'm assuming that they're going to have you revise the statements that you wrote. And then tomorrow in class, we can like really actually, you're going to submit them and share them. So I'm assuming that's the homework that they're going to assign for tonight. Like revise your thesis. That's why I said in the agenda to submit that homework. So a lesson before dying. Who is the narrator? Describe the narrator, include emotional, physical, and psychological observations, textual evidence, specific paraphrase details. Who is the narrator? Do. This is gonna take forever if no one speaks or types.
Grant was the narrator, right?
Wonderful, yes. And let's describe the narrator. What are some traits?
Educated Black man.
Okay. Oh, gosh. What else?
I said educated too.
Educated. I will share this with you. If you want to take handwritten notes, you can, but I am going to share this. Educated. What else? I know it's kind of like a lot of takes a lot to rack our brains because this is our first one. Like he's educated in terms of he's a teacher. Oh, willful. Okay. Like psychologically and emotionally. Remember, we talked a lot about how he is like unfaithful when it comes to God. So like I don't mean unfaithful like the Rihanna song, which is iconic, but I mean like unfaithful, not having faith. Capitalize for the sake of capitalization. Unfaithful when it comes to God. What else? Emotional, physical, psychological observations.
He was sort of emotionally like detached from everything.
Okay. Emotionally detached for sure. Hypocritical. Morning, Sal. We're just filling out this chart, which many people did not do from the video yesterday. Oh my God, I spelled hypocritical wrong. This is the problem with sharing my screen. It's just like literally critique the crap out of me. We're filling this out as a class. I'll share it with you guys, and then we're going to talk briefly about the homework they had. Black man, educated, willful, unfaithful, emotionally detached, hypocritical. How would we describe like his like assumptions about the city or the town and society and like the class? Is he like a classist? Is he a realist, an idealist? What do we think? I'm trying to like figure out how we can encapsulate this idea of him like, although he's like buck the system, like he still is perpetuating almost that system with his beliefs, at least at the beginning. Unless you think I'm crazy. How do we encapsulate that idea, or do we not? Do we say screw it? Condescending. Okay. I would say condescending for sure, especially to his aunt, Tante Leo. I would say he's caring almost to a fault. Like his caring attitude gets him into like it creates this emotional detachment. Like he's so caring that it's like it almost hinders him. Is he a Christ figure? Or is Jefferson the Christ figure? I can't remember what we said for that. What you guys sided with. Is he taking the sacrifice of the town and the people? Jefferson? Okay. I think Jefferson too. Textual evidence, we're not going to fill it out right now for the sake of time. But you would go in and you would say like the way he speaks with his aunt, like the relationship between him and Vivian, right? So that would be something that we would do later. When I share this with you, that's your chart to keep and revise and tweak. And as we continue to go, based on the meeting today with AP, I'll know like how far are we going to go with open-ended preparation versus prose preparation and poetry. A separate piece. Who's our narrator? A separate piece. Jean. We love Jean. Let's talk about Jean as a narrator. Feel free to also like use your phones, do some like quick Googling while we do this. I have my iPad to fact check. Naive, closed-minded. What else? Envious. For sure he's envious. I would say childish, or does that, I mean naive, childish, same thing. Naive's a better word.
He's also writing it from he's a grown man, thinking back on it.
Yeah, so it's like reflective. So this is almost like the whole thing is reflective. I don't know how I even say this. Reflective on childhood, and then it's like these are the things that he remembers from his childhood. Yeah, reflective on childhood, like thinking about how he was naive, how he was closed-minded, how he was envious. Jeez Louise, just dropped my iPad. What else? Okay, deceitful. That's not how you spell deceitful. I misplaced the I. Deceitful, it means lying, liar, deceitful person. Anything else for Gene? I like envious. I think envious is huge. I think that not much self-control. What do we call someone without self-control? I'm thinking of a word. I don't know how to spell it. Reckless. I was thinking impulsive is good too. Reckless. This actually reminds me of doing, I'm thinking erratic, unpredictable, right? He's like here, there, everywhere, erratic. What? That's how you spell it? Oh, no, it's 2 R's. I actually Googled it and still spelled it wrong. This actually reminds me of doing like PSTT charts, right? Like filling out all of these like qualities. Anything else to add before we move on to fences? No. Okay. So fences. Fences is tough. Why is fences tough?
Isn't it third person?
Hmm?
Third person, like it's somebody else.
Yeah. It's so there's not really a narrator. It's like sometimes omniscient, but it's typically no narrator. So do we even want to include it in narrator's perspective? I don't know if we have enough detail in the times that it's omniscient to like think about how the narrator's shaping and observing these characters in like a psychological, physical, emotional way. We can skip it if you want. If you get a question about narrative perspective, you just wouldn't use fences. How do I do this? I'm trying to do like something cool where it's like, can't touch that one. Death of a Salesman. Same thing or no? It's the same thing, yeah. Okay, so you might not talk about narrative perspective. Obviously, like character perspective is a different, obviously, story than narrative perspective. But if you're getting a narrative question, we're going to focus on Grant, Gene, and Song of Solomon because we get lots of variety within the 3 of them. So, Song of Solomon, let's do it. Yeah, so it's omniscient narration. It is also third person, but can we choose because we get their thoughts, right? That's what, and we get multiple characters' thoughts. So who should we pick in terms of you want to pick Milkman? Because we get enough of Milkman's. It is more from his, but we do jump around in the omniscient narration to get like what they're thinking, seeing, feeling. Oh my God, I cannot with that. Hombre de leche. Is that how you say that? I've been trying to learn French. Don't ask. Let's describe the narrator. You would honestly have to say, that's the tricky thing about Song of Solomon. You have to say that it's a third person omniscient narrator. Or be specific about like if it's a narrator question, you'd have to be specific about although it's not told from Milkman's first person perspective, we get enough of his thoughts to like understand him as a narrator. You'd have to like explain that because everyone's read Song of Solomon that's reading these essays. Sure. Let's do before, and then let's do transformation. Transformative into appreciative. I would say spiritual at the end. Self-centered. Ugh, the things that he did to poor little Hagar. Self-centered, also self-serving, wouldn't you say? His selfishness is what led him. What's the time? Okay, we're still good. I need to give you ample time for later. Sexist, immature, greedy, self-centered, self-serving. Then he's transformative. He transforms into something else. He's then appreciative, spiritual. What else is he after this transformation? Humbled by the experience. Dead. Just kidding. I mean, maybe. Humbled. Reflective. Like, what do we call it when you like are like mind blown? Like, boom, like I understand the mysteries of the universe now, my family tradition, my family history. Appreciative, spiritual, humbled, reflective, like wise. There's like a word where it's like everything is like clear and crystal now. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. Anything else to add? Enlightened. That's actually what I was thinking. Enlightened through epiphany. Right? He connects. It is an epiphany moment. What's the adjective version of epiphany? Whatever. He has this epiphany of like, oh my God, these songs that Pilot's been singing connect the dots in my head, and I'm boom, enlightened. Anything to add before before his transformation, or are we just classifying him as sexist, immature, greedy, self-centered, self-serving? Remember guitar, LOL. Okay, so I will share this with you guys. I'll post it in the classroom. Let's talk about the homework that they assigned quickly. So hopefully you all did this. I didn't assign it like to turn it in. I'm assuming, like I said at the beginning of this class, that they are going to have you interact with this through like revising it and tweaking it. We won't know until they actually have the task. But if they ask you, let's say at the beginning, to tweak this, then I want you to tweak it. Then for the homework, whatever homework they assign, that's in the agenda. I want you to submit that. So I'll have I'll create a document. I actually already created it. It's going to post in like a second. That you're going to submit the homework, whatever that homework is that they assigned tonight. But I want you, if you feel like they have all these charts, it seems, each day, if you feel like that chart is beneficial, I would do it. Unless it's something we've done in class, I would highly recommend doing it. Just interact with the video as much as you can. But you're submitting the homework to me. So let's read the question. Let's talk about your initial thoughts. If you want to start typing your initial thoughts in the box, you can, or in the chat. I don't want to spend too much time. I want to answer your questions. If you were like, I had no idea what the heck to write about, I want you to get something done in the next 10 minutes with us. That way I can give you the other 40 minutes to allocate to later in the day. Am I crazy? Does that make sense? Sure, it makes sense. 2008 Form B. In some works of literature, this is a tough one. Childhood and adolescence are portrayed as times graced by innocence and a sense of wonder. In other works, they are depicted as times of tribulation and terror. Focusing on a single novel or play, explain how its representation of childhood or adolescence shapes the meaning of the work as a whole. They give you a list. Don't look at the list. Doesn't have anything that we've read. I already looked at it for you. So their task was to write an introduction to this essay prompt. Within your introduction, highlight your thesis. You know how I feel about introductions. I would say if you wrote 2 sentences, great. Really focusing on that claim, defensible claim. What are our thoughts here? Anyone wants to unmute or type in? What did you talk about? Who did you talk about? Was it tribulation and terror, or was it innocence and sense of wonder? Actually, this isn't, now that I'm reading it like for the 7th time, it's not that difficult in my head. Kind of after we did the narration work too, which obviously that makes sense because that's how they designed the class. Malak Mana and sense of wonder. Malak Mana. That honestly sounds like Nicki Minaj in my head. Malak Mana and sense of wonder. Yeah. Could you also write about Malak Mana and talk about tribulation and terror? Yes. If the recording of this is going to be out of control, they're not going to see the chat. Milkman and sense of wonder. Yes. Trials and tribulation, you could 100% do with Milkman because his childhood is really scarred by that trauma. But you could go back and say before that, it was all like wonder and yada, yada, yada. It's recorded, but I think they just sent me a transcript. I don't know. What other books, what other childhoods could we address? There's a few. There's a few. A Separate Peace. How did you think of A Separate Peace? Because same. Innocence and sense of wonder, or trials and tribulation? Or trials and tribulation. Tribulation and terror. I guess it is trials and tribulation. That's like the phrase. Okay. In what way? In what way is it tribulation and terror? Anyone, really, not just Jasmine. The draft. Yeah, I mean, for sure. But could you also, so like you could talk about tribulation and terror, like there were moments when he was truly, yeah, he lost his innocence to the warrant of Finney's death. Yeah, so if you took it to the end, he definitely did. There was also times when throughout the novel where he would be like overcome with envy or with anger. Like he would work himself up so far to like where he thought that Finney wanted to like truly murder him and destroy everything about his life. And then he'd like talk himself off the ledge and be like, no, it's fine, it's fine. But that's like, those are like moments of terror in him that he built up for himself. So you could definitely say that. Could you also write a great essay here about the innocence and sense of wonder of that summer at Devon School and all the things that they had, jumping out of the tree, forming like a little cute squad, playing pranks, wearing pink clothes? Could you also write an essay about innocence and sense of wonder and how it contributes to the meaning of the work as a whole because it makes the loss of the innocence so much more dramatic? Could you do that? Yeah, you could. What else? What other texts that we've read? Separate Peace? No, probably not, right? I mean, you could talk about Jefferson because he wasn't a child, but he really didn't grow out of his adolescence. So we would probably not do A Separate Peace unless you feel inclined.
You keep saying, huh? You keep saying A Separate Peace. The Lesson Before Dying is Jefferson.
I meant A Lesson Before Dying. Thank you. I'm crazy. A Lesson Before Dying, probably not, because they're all adults. Separate Peace, we did. Song of Solomon, we did. Could you do Fences, Death of a Salesman? Could you do Fences, Death of a Salesman? I think so too. I think you could do, yeah, I was thinking Biff too. And like the facade, right? The fake sense of wonder that was in place that was covering up tribulation and terror. You would really discuss the relationship, but you would portray it through like this adolescent experience that Biff went through. Anything else? Anything else? So it's an interesting one. This is one you'd have to like take some time at the beginning to be like, okay, let me really like unpack the narrators. And was it wonder, was it tribulation, or was it both? And a lot of these are a shift too. That's why we read coming of age novels like A Separate Peace, because they represent a shift from innocence and wonder to tribulation and terror. So it could be a really, really nice essay and to hit that sophistication point, if you start with the innocence and sense of wonder and talk about how that they set that up in place to make a dramatic change in that child adolescence portrayal. I really like something about writing an AP essay just makes me so excited. Like I want to write one. Questions for me. So you should have written one yesterday. I'm assuming they're going to workshop it today based on what they said in the video. Today, you're going to submit the homework that they assign in Google Classroom once it's over. Questions for me? It's about to be 8:40, so I want to give you the other 40 minutes to dedicate to that later. I will tomorrow with the grades lock as well. I will be putting in, I'm almost done with your assignment from yesterday. I'm going to put those in as a quiz grade. Most of you did like a great job. If I have any revisions for you, I'll give you time at the very beginning of class tomorrow to revise those. That way I can put them in before 4 o'clock. And then same with the homework tonight. I am going to put the homework in. I'm not supposed to put any more grades in tomorrow, but tomorrow morning, if we're all here, I can just we can tweak some stuff. Okay? If you don't have any questions, you can sayonara. I'll see you. Well, I won't see you, but we'll be watching the same live chat at 12. And today they're working on thesis statement. It'll be cool to see their techniques and how they differ from what we've talked about. Bye. Stop recording, probably.